new pairs to the XRP ledger where XRP can be used in auto bridging. And your next question should be, hey, I want more of those. I want a lot of currencies being added to the XRPL so that XRP can be triggered in more cases to be auto bridged, right?
There will be at least 3 new pairs that are really powerful that will use the permission side, the new Permissioned DEX that Bitso and Ripple are going to build, plus the public open DEX that we already know. But the question really is always, what does this really mean for XRP? This is the question I see most of the time when people see these headlines.
You just need to really understand, like how this works.
Yeah, XRP is always used when you use the XRP Ledger or go onto the XRP blockchain and you do anything there. You always have to pay XRP fees if you sign any transactions that get validated on the network.
That's just one part for auto bridging, but you mentioned also other places where XRP is being used, obviously, which is also very important too.
Hey and welcome to Krippenreiter TV, our weekly series on Monday, hosted by me, Krippenreiter, and my regular co-host Vet. Just yesterday, the FIFA World Cup started and Mexico already won the very first game. Why this matters for XRP, I will ask Vet in a second. We also saw a lot of news around Ripple and Bitso partnering to finally move on the XRP network in a compliant manner, but also Ripple and 29 other industry leaders partnering with Mastercard to bring agentic payments to the blockchain rails. Why this matters for XRP and how devs can now utilize the XRP Ledger to build cool new applications is also what we will cover today. Also about the XRPL Foundation, 2 new announcements were made that are around infrastructure. I'm very excited about that as well. If you're ready for the show, make sure to like the video and tell me in the comments why you're still bullish. But first things first, hey Vet, which country are you cheering for this year in the World Cup?
Well, to be honest, I have to maybe lead now with Mexico, right? And say that was a very interesting coincidence with Mexico and the news we talked about with the Permissioned DEX coming to the XRP ledger used by the Mexican peso, MXN, and by Bitso, and RLUSD. That is a very exciting thing because a lot of people were waiting really for Permissioned DEX application now, so being used. Yeah, but if you would ask me, in general, of course I have to say for Germany, right? Gonna root for Germany for the World Cup. Let's see how far we're gonna get.
Yeah, I'm for Argentina, so we will see who wins.
Okay.
But sure, Mexico is cool because, as we know with Ripple and Bitso, the partnership and what we will see is actually a new stablecoin on the XRPL. And this is exciting for me because, as we all know, Ripple talked about Ripple payments going on-chain back in the day when Permissioned DEX came to the XRPL as a feature. And it's already there, but no one really used it, right? But now the first big partnership is there that committed to using the Permissioned DEX while issuing a new token. And this is something which is exciting because we will get new trading pairs. So we will get the new Mexican peso stablecoin issued by Bitso, and we already have the Ripple USD issued by Ripple, right? So what we will see is we will see new trading pairs on the Permissioned DEX and on the open public DEX that anyone can access. But we will also, like always, also see, let's say, Mexican peso with XRP paired or Ripple USD with XRP paired. We already know this exists. So there will be at least 3 new pairs that are really powerful that will use the permission side, like the new Permissioned DEX that Bitso and Ripple are going to build, plus the public open DEX that we already know. But the question really is always, what does this really mean for XRP? This is the question I see most of the time when people see these headlines. The question all the time, what this means for XRP. So what does it mean?
I mean, to be honest, I think people need to really understand that the XRP ledger is made for multi-currencies. We want multi-currencies.
True.
We cannot just do everything with XRP. Each time I see, sometimes people see, there's a new stable coin being issued or something on the XRP ledger, they get disappointed. They say, why not XRP? The thing is, that was never the goal. It was never the goal that only XRP is going to be used on the ledger, right? Our technology, the edge of our technology from the beginning was, hey, learnings from Bitcoin is hey, we want to have actually multiple currencies on the ledger to represent value and actual national currencies on the ledger. And that's what the XRP ledger is about. And knowing this, Now, to add on top of what you also described here, so with auto bridging is where XRP can improve the conversion rate between different assets. So once you know that, you want actually a lot of those assets where XRP can basically be the bridge essentially. So your question should always be, hey, what does it mean for XRP? Is first, this is now new pairs, right, to the XRP ledger where XRP can be used in auto bridging. And your next question should be, hey, I want more of those. I want a lot of currencies being added to the XRPL so that XRP can be triggered in more cases to be auto bridged, right?
Yes.
That's just one part for auto bridging, but you mentioned also other places where XRP is being used, obviously, which is also very important too.
Yeah, XRP is always used when you use the XRP ledger or go onto the XRP blockchain and you do anything there. You always have to pay XRP fees if you sign any transactions that get validated on the network. But what's important for the account that you hold, that you own, the account itself has to be enabled or activated, for which you need the base reserve. This is something you have to lock away, but it's not really locked away. It's just marked unspent. You can still, let's say, use this currently 1 XRP to pay fees. If you only have 1 XRP, you can still sign transactions and use this base reserve for your fees, but it's locked. So marked unspent. But you also own objects on the XRPL if you do anything, like you own an NFT, for example, or in this example, you own maybe Ripple USD, and you own the new Mexican peso. Both are trust line based IOU tokens. And to hold trust line based IOU tokens, you have to own the trust line as an object on the XRPL on your account. And for this, XRP is also locked away. This is called incremental reserve or owner reserve. And this is something that you stack. So you own the Mexican peso. Okay, this is 1 owner reserve, 0.2 XRP. So Ripple USD as well, another 0.2 XRP. Then you want to do an offer on the Open DEX or on the Permissioned DEX, another 0.2 XRP locked away. Then you own maybe a credential because you want to access the Permissioned DEX, another 0.2 XRP locked away. And someone created a permissioned domain at some point to make Permissioned DEX trading possible. This account also needs 0.2 XRP locked away. So this stacks over time.
It stacks a lot. And I can only encourage people, because I have seen the numbers from a few months ago when we had more activity on the XRP ledger where sometimes it spiked very high up. Don't neglect those fees, right? Like a lot, they accumulate really, and even the market makers who create and cancel offers, they pay a lot of transaction fees in aggregate. Like you see some 500 XRP per day, or per a couple days or something like this, because they do a lot of transactions, and that's substantial, because you hear like 0.2 point here, but you have to sum them up together. It's not like marginal, like very small amounts, but any case, it's really about that whenever you use the XRP ledger, it's used in really a lot of places. Like I see still like people say it's not used. You can use the XRP ledger without using XRP. Like, what are you talking about? It's not possible. And even if you say, well, okay, but this is not enough to get the price up. Well, burning fees or locking up XRP and these things is not the main value driver. Like this is not because XRP is going up in value, right? In that case, it's just, it is being used, right? But it's speculation, right? It's speculation specifically of 100%. Usage. So when you see Permissioned DEX, right, and Bitso, and there's institutional usage, this is where people speculate on. So I don't get it. I think this is like an Ethereum thinking, like the OG Ethereum thinking, where they burn a lot of fees. This is good for price or something like that. It's very weird.
I mean, XRP is a digital commodity, as we know, but we also know that commodities are traded mostly based on speculation. Like above, like there are papers about it. Above 80% of commodity trading is based on speculation. So why shouldn't this be also the case with XRP or digital assets in general? So what you will see actually is the speculators front running the actually usage of the network. So we see the announcement, and as you said, then the speculators are front running this usage before it even captures the market in any sense. But then the price is already high because people are speculating, obviously, before something happens.
Correct. And so it's about speculation that is giving you the ceiling, while usage is giving you the floor, right? This is very important, where people say, okay, below this price, I will not sell this commodity because there is sort of a base demand, base usage for it. And this gives you floor. So we are building up our floor, right? We're building up our floor as the ceiling stays uncapped, right? People are still not able to really value these things. And it's just very hard for people to value, like, hey, it's very volatile.
True.
So we are uncapped, right? The speculation, you can speculate as much as you want. But we are building up our floor, which is like very, very important. Everybody wants to build up their floor because else you're going to have like always these huge swings, like back down and so on. But so you just need to really understand, like how this works. Because if you believe, hey, everybody needs to use XRP and nothing else, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah, if you think, hey, a transaction fees is going to increase XRP's price, you're going to be disappointed. Like there's so many ways that you can be disappointed, and people are being disappointed because they have just the wrong thesis.
Yeah, I think also people are searching for reasons to be disappointed. I mean, we saw the news with Mastercard as well, and AI-based agentic payments coming to the ledger, and Ripple partnering with Mastercard. Why would you think that this is bad or that this is not worth anything? We are talking about Mastercard. It's not your little startup business partnering with RLUSD using the XRPL. It's Mastercard.
Yep.
This is a gigantic, big company, and they decide to use the XRPL for settlement by using RLUSD for agentic payments. And the XRP Ledger Foundation also highlighted this as well, that this is exactly why the XRPL is useful, because of its near instant finality, predictable low fees, and its proven 14-year track record. This is why Mastercard, for example, values blockchains like XRP Ledger, because the usage is proven over time.
Yes.
So to me, this is absolutely fascinating, and Mastercard highlighted this as well. Why they're going on chain, why they're partnering with so many industry leaders, including Ripple, and how they are actually doing it is explained here, how it works on their website. Here's why it's important and how it's going to be used on blockchain rails. And they have like these 4 bullet points that they explain, and the first one is credentialing. And as we all know, credentials is something the XRPL has embedded natively, which is useful for anyone who wants to be verified. And what's also pretty interesting maybe is for people to understand, the XRP Ledger doesn't know the entity behind an account. It also doesn't matter if it's a user, if it's a person, or if it's an entity, a company, if it's an AI agent. It doesn't care. If you use an account, an XRPL account, you have to activate this account. And if you want to credential this account, it doesn't matter if it's an AI or a user. So also in this case, we not only want to KYC the user, we also want to KYC basically the agent as well and make them verifiable, right? So we can maybe make them trustworthy, and then we can also give them guardrails to tell, let's say, you don't want the agent to only use the open and public DEX, for example. So, for example, you may want to do permissioning as well. So what we already know with us using the XRPL, you can do permissioning. You can use a permissioned domain, for example, which leads to the permissioned DEX. But what you can also do, you can freeze issue tokens and clawback tokens as well, which is maybe something the agent wants because it will use stablecoins like Ripple USD. So to set the guardrails, you also need some form of permissioning and compliance embedded in the functionalities that the agents will do. And then they will transact on the XRPL, for example, with Ripple USD in a permission setting with verifiable credentials. And they will obviously settle on XRPL, not only on XRPL, but
I had a good conversation with people who said, hey, what about like a lot of TPS and how would that work? There is also a lot of like effort if you look at token payment channels, which is like plays into it, but payment channels in general, where you can establish between maybe different vendors and have those lines, and then you can push a lot of transactions through this. Not really transactions because it bypasses consensus, but this is how it works. And if you look, for example, even with Dali Pay, which they do like for the API access on the XRP Ledger, he has like X402, right? It comes into place where you have like agentic payments play into this online payment request feature, and then they may just make the payment to those places very easily, very cheap, and frequently, like as frequent as you want it to be.
Yeah, there are many ways to make agentic payments work. And I don't think really the scalability is an issue right now, because we would need to scale up to, let's say, 700, 800 transactions per second, and we're not even close. So
it's also a good problem to have. Like if we would get to that point, I mean, we will figure it out. Like we will make it happen that we can do more. But let's get first the problem. Like if we say, oh my God, like we have so much transactions, it's like what is it? Oh, my lobster is too buttery, my wine is too refined.
It tastes too good. No,
it tastes too good. Oh no, it's like, you should. That's a good problem to have. So no, true. Whatever.
And until we reach this, we need to empower devs to actually use the XRPL with agentic payments. And for this, the XRPL Foundation launched something which is called
Ripple.
the XRPL.
It was Ripple X.
It was Ripple?
Yeah, Ripple X.
Okay.
Published the starter kit. And yeah, as you say, they also made like a really cool tutorial on XRPL org. Really enjoyed that one because it's very detailed. Everybody can do it. You can use Claude to do like, hey, create a wallet, do this, do that. For developments, it's very easy. But yeah, and Brad Garlinghouse also mentioned that on his Fox Business.
Yeah, it's true. He talked about it. He talked about how this is still in the experimentation phase, and I still believe he's right with this. It doesn't feel like it's here now and everyone is using it, but the trajectory to this point is pretty clear. I also believe that at some point we won't do all the payments ourselves. I will just go to the cashier and tell maybe I want to buy a coffee. Right. And then the agentic AI will do the payment for me to make it more seamless, to abstract maybe also the payment infrastructure in the background.
The classic example is you tell your AI to book like your whole trip, right? True. It books like the flight for you, the hotel, maybe even like transportation, all for yourself. You just say, hey, I want to go to New York City for Swell. Please, like, I'm here like in Germany, whatever. Please book me everything and just do everything for me. And then it tells you, okay, here's your ticket, blah blah, all done.
Yeah, and the tech behind is the X402 standard, right? This is something which the agentic AIs will use to do the actual payments on the blockchain rails.
That's how the websites tell, hey, you need to pay now, and then you can pay to the website and things like that, because it's not like feasible for all these AI agents to have their own Mastercard, whatever, like, their actual, like card where they enter their PIN and shit like that. True. Yeah, it's done like that. But it's really cool.
Yeah. But how would this look like for a dev right now? I'm a dev on the XRPL. I want to build something using AI, for example, right? So I now have the XRPL AI starter kit. I maybe also know about the XRPL.org documentation. How would I now build something using the XRPL starter kit?
Yeah, so you can go to XRPL.org first, right? There is a nice tutorial and documentation of this starter kit. And then you can incorporate this into Claude. They used Claude where you can have like these skills. You put it as a skill. You have the XRPL skill. And then you can, in just normal language, start developing and creating things, which for developing purpose is very nice. Like we could say, create a testnet wallet. It creates a testnet wallet, just typing it, make some tokens, do a payment. Typically, you create a script. Like I would need to create a script, right, which creates for me all the accounts, all the stuff. And now I can just very easily type it into Claude and it will just do it like very, very seamless. Much better than before, because now it's like, it's an actually nicely integrated skill. for Claude.
Yeah, really looking forward to what people are going to build with it, because I think this is really a way to make things a little bit more easy to understand for the users as well. Because right now everything is really complicated. If you want to do, or if you want to use a blockchain like the XRPL, it still feels pretty complicated and tech, right? You have to be tech savvy, and this maybe helps abstracting all of this.
Yeah, and specifically developers, again, it's like very easy to just type in what you want to test and to get your setup going. But of course, I'm also critical in the sense like when you create a testnet wallet, it's no problem, right? Like the credentials can be leaked or whatever. But do you really want to say like, Claude, hey, create me a wallet, and then it creates like your seed phrase in this Claude setup? I don't know. You know, it's like for mainnet probably not, but for testnet, I think it's a great use for developers to just, test the workflow, right? And how that.
True.
Yeah, it's an assist.
True. But also on this, to make the XRPL better, not only for the developers, but also for the infrastructure guys, now the XRP Ledger Foundation did something. It partnered with Peersyst. So when I read this, I was really happy because Peersyst was really successful building the XRPL EVM sidechain. So this team knows what it's doing, and they know the XRPL as well. So this is just fantastic. And now tell me about it. They partnered with the foundation to do what?
So we partnered together with Peersyst, who are longtime contributors of the XRP Ledger, and together with the EVM sidechain to build essentially monitoring for the XRPL. That includes 24/7 monitoring of how the consensus is working. Is there a hold? Is there not a hold? Is there maybe delayed in ledger closing times and things like that? Health of the network in itself. So maybe you are seeing degraded performance or something like that, should be then visible with it. Performance tracking, how many TPS are we including, right? When is fee escalation kicking in, like these sort of things. So that's on the performance side. Then of course all the DONL and node tracking. So if someone is performing very bad, right, is on the negative UNL or is stopping, or maybe even sending Byzantine validations, which happens if someone is creating with one DONL validator key, two servers that are running or more. So let's say I have my identity as vet on my server. If I copy that and put it onto another server and run them in parallel, then all the other validators say, hey, something is wrong, because now two validators pretend to be vet, but there can be only one. So what happens is they reject those validations because it's a Byzantine. Yeah. So that's problematic, and the reporting should help with that, and hub monitoring as well. So for peering, we had long-term peering issues. Automated network alerts as well, which is like probably one of the most important thing out of this is being notified when something happens. Because in the past, how did you know if the ledger halted? It was from X. It was like very bad. Like, oh, I'm scrolling through my funny X, and then I'm seeing XRP Ledger halted.
Yeah, okay, this is how I go through Y.
Yeah, this is not a good way, and status reporting for everybody to say, hey, what is the current health of the ledger, right? How many transactions are we including, and like just getting like something reported, and we want to work with them to have that. That's ongoing in work already. So the announcement came after a few weeks already them working for this, and we will definitely publish like more updates along the way. I know it's not like the most flashy, splashy thing. It's like very like, oh, super exciting. But it's something that we need to have. It's like sort of, bare minimum. Literally, it's bare minimum. But this is where we're picking up things, with the foundation. We really need to start with a lot of things from scratch because they haven't been established before. So we need to do that.
Am I correct to assume this will be open source? I saw Peersyst telling that they will. Okay. So open source, we will be able to look into what they are building actually.
Exactly, and other people can maybe use that to build maybe their own front end or their own alerting systems. Like there's a bunch of community developers who maybe want to do that, but we always aim to have it open source, right? Sort of in tune with the Ledger philosophy. Yeah.
But there's one more news. In the same spirit, again, infrastructure. But this time it's about nodes and documentation, right? And you partnered with two very well-known gentlemen.
Yeah.
And how will they help you and the foundation and the broader ecosystem to make the documentation better on how to actually bring more nodes to the ledger and make them more basically better configured, because then we have two people with a lot of experience who know best how to do it.
I've seen a lot of, not a lot, but quite sometimes every now and then I see a post of maybe someone who's running infrastructure or a developer or a project owner who is like frustrated. It says like, the documentation is bad. Just like documentation is bad. There's no documentation. How can that be? XRP is like a top blockchain. I'm leaving or whatever. So, the thing is, the documentation as it is actually pretty solid to get started, but it has gaps where it gets into the details. So once you do want to more like as just running a stock node, there's a bit of a problem. And so you have like history nodes, pathfinding nodes, peering hub. How do you set these things up? What kind of things do you need to establish? How do you set up the configuration, right? They all have their different quirks as well. There's a lot of things that are basically just common knowledge among some developers, but it's not really brought to paper for this detailed information. And together with Chris Dangerfield and Daniel Keller from Casino Coin or Lucky Hash, we just brought them in to basically create for us like this overhauled documentation guide for everybody on the XRPL. Like you will find it on xrpl.org, and then you will have more in detail. Plus, very important, also working towards having it maintained. Very important, right?
Yes.
So they will keep maintaining it, updating it, hopefully then from 2027 on and so on, which is also very, very crucial. And, they know what they're talking about. Like Chris is a developer and Daniel is a system admin. So I think we are very, very well suited with having both of them on this and to give us a good documentation.
Yeah, true. Why do we even need so many nodes? Like I thought there's only the stock node and the validator node, but now you're telling me there's also the full history node and pathfinding node, peering hub. Probably the pathfinding node and peering hub are two kind of nodes that many people don't know about. Probably. Is there? Can you maybe give a very high level overview about what these nodes are about and what their purpose are?
So when we talk about a stock node or a normal node, this is a node who is sort of trying to do everything, right? Mediocre. Like its strength is like medium in everything. Okay, so it is peering with some people, right? It is participating in peering, but only with a group, like with maybe 20 people. Then it does do also pathfinding. Like you can do pathfinding with it, but maybe only just to a certain depth. Okay, so just a few hops. Very shallow. Full history, well, typically it only is like part of history, like partial history. So a stock node, the normal standard node, is good in everything sort of medium or like small. Okay, so it's just the basic. So what you can now do is you can tell the node to be very specific or good into one of these things. Okay, specifically. So you can say to a node, hey, don't store only partial, but store the full history. You can configure it, and then now this normal node is a full history node.
We're talking about transaction history, right? The transaction history of the XRPL.
Transaction history, that's what meant with full history, the full ledger history.
Exactly.
Minus the ones that were lost. And then the pathfinding is very similar, but here it's now optimized for searching path. Okay, so it has a lot of path depths that is searching, different algorithms that is applying. This is pathing node. Okay, and then you have the peering hub. Peering hub is like, hey, I want to peer with as many people as possible, where maybe the standard is maybe 17, 20, 25. With a peering hub, you can have like 200, 300, 400, right? Like you can have like as much as your machine can handle in peering. So think of it, which I really like, is maybe a lot of you guys know Pokemon, right? There's a Pokemon called Ditto, right? Ditto is like always like it can change its form. The base form of Ditto is basically the stock node, and you can make it to be maybe Charizard. You can make it like Snorlax or I don't know. Pigeon,
Pikachu.
Pikachu. You can have a Pikachu. So it can change its form and be very strong in one part, right? Can be like a flame type Pokemon, can be like more a normal type, flying type, boxing type Pokemon. So this is basically it. Everybody knows the stock form, the Ditto form, but once you want to change it to be very strong into one part, this is where the documentation is a little bit gappy. Okay, to be here. And what Chris and Daniel is trying to say is, hey, they want to describe very clearly, hey, if you have a Ditto, how can you make it to be a flying type Pokemon or a flame type Pokemon? So that's what they are going to do. Okay, is describing this path of making this normal node into something very specific. That's what they will do.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Because I think many people, without the Ditto example, I think many people wouldn't have come to the conclusion what kind of node does actually. But the Ditto example is pretty good because there are so many very specific things you can do. And it's also how you get to the validator as well. You start with a stock node and then you say, okay, I want the stock node to be a specific validator. And then you obviously try to be a good validator to also one day land into one of the many UNLs that everyone manages, also the DUNL from the foundation. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Ed, for the crash course. Super cool. I hope many people have now understood how the foundation will try to make infrastructure better, more interesting, and also better documented. And I think this is really the way forward. And I'm really hopeful that this will be successful because I think there are many people who really want to post infrastructure, but they were maybe scared on the details.
Right.
But now you're delivering.
Those gentlemen are going to deliver for sure.
They will.
And looking forward to what they're going to deliver. But I'm very hopeful for how the XRP Ledger is currently developing. I think we are tackling like everything, right? Like we started at the beginning with talking about institution adoption from ground up infrastructure, now monitoring, agentic payments, AI. We really are at the forefront of everything, and to be like at the pulse of what's currently going on. And I think this is like important to be like always like that.
Definitely. And what's so fascinating to me is that most of what we talk about is nearly always payments. Payments is some kind of thing that always is in the back. Like when we talk about permissioned DEX, what we talk about is exchanging value. Yeah, you are paying someone and then you exchange value in between to then make the payment to another currency, to another destination that someone wants. So payments is at its core still till today, from the start, from 14 years ago until today. Payments is still the number one use case for retail and also for institutions. And we will see this with agentic payments, and now with better infrastructure and better documentation, I think it will more and more scale. It will scale. Auto bridging will be more useful because there's just more liquidity, because there are more interesting assets and issued tokens that we can link together. And then we have more usage on the XRPL, which should skyrocket the metrics that we all track. Right. And then hopefully at some point, value and price will meet each other at some point. So
we're increasing our floor.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ved, for the interview. As always,
appreciate it.
Super cool. And for everyone listening, make sure to like and subscribe. And see you next time, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.